What's up, guys? So the YouTuber Fouseytube just released a video titled How I Became a Millionaire at 23. Now, he then went on to say that he got $1 million in the bank on top of that by the time he was 25. And in this video, we will be talking about what he said as advice in that video in terms of making money, and pretty much giving my opinion on it in terms of the personal development and wealth creation channel that I am, and the fact that my YouTube channel has covered this topic for years. There's been hundreds of videos on this topic, and on top of that, it's basically a whole theme to a lot of the stuff I do. So I've read a ton of books on the topic, and therefore I have a pretty firm grasp, and I just wanted to give you some insight onto it and so forth. We will be covering what he said that might have been wrong, what he said that might have been partially right without him realizing it, and what he said that was spot on. And this is not just my opinion or theories. I will try my best to use specific examples from reputable people who have made a lot of money or have pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much it. I will only be using those examples, so it will not be my own theories or opinions. So let's just get started. Now, before we get to the stuff he said wrong, I just want to start off with some good stuff, because you should always say something good before you say something bad about someone. And this video is not to spread any hate or negativity towards him. I'm simply trying to clarify some points, because things can be misinterpreted and that can lead to frustration. And some of his advice I just want to make sure is crystal clear, and some of it I respectfully disagree with. So let's just start with what he did right. He has a lot of mindsets. First off, his video is really long. It's like 30 minutes long. And he really talks about and walks through a lot of mindsets that I think are critical and clearly something that he has done, and he pretty much emphasizes and repeats numerous times throughout his video. The first one, of course, is visualization. Now, he sometimes phrased it in other ways, like you just got to believe it, or you just got to see it. But that's the essence of what it is. It's visualizing something before it actually occurs. Athletes do this when they make the game-winning shot, and successful, wealthy people do it too. How do I know this? Because Napoleon Hill, in his book, and he's written a lot of books on this, states it clearly. Now, who's Napoleon Hill and why should you trust him? Well, he spent over 25 years of his whole life, he spent literally his life following around 500 of the wealthiest people in the world, including Henry Ford, Andrew Carnegie, these people who are worth billions upon billions of dollars. And he got to interview and talk to these people in person for so many years through a bit of luck and as well as a bit of hustle. So basically, it's a long story, but he met Andrew Carnegie, and Carnegie told him, I'll let you do this, but I'm not paying you a cent. And so he did it, and eventually, after all those years of study, he finally wrote a few books on the topic. And I can't think of anyone else whose advice I trust more in terms of wealth creation. There's a few, but it's very rare, other than him, because he literally spent his life doing this, and it wasn't just theory based off one or two people. These were 500 of the wealthiest people in the world. And on top of that, he studied over 30,000 people who were unwealthy, and he compared it to these people, and he did a lot of research. And one of the principles that he says in his books is you need to visualize things first. There's a lot of principles, so make sure that you do them all, or at least you do what he tells you in the book, because a lot of people only focus on this one principle. That's all they do. They'll visualize, or they'll just work hard without understanding all the rest of what's going on. There's a lot of principles. Another one that Napoleon Hill said was, you cannot accomplish anything without a strong emotion there. Nothing of great importance was ever accomplished without strong emotion. And that's basically saying that what motivates you has to really evoke a strong emotion in you. So that leads me to the thing I'm going to say about Fouseytube that I think could have been better, which was there were some holes in what he said. I think there are certain things that were missed that he didn't say, such as writing down your goals, writing out a plan, having that strong emotion, and a lot of the other points in Napoleon Hill's book. Now, that's just to be mentioned because it's important. These other elements are important. And, partially, you can't really blame him because, it was more of a video / casual vlog that turned serious. But I just want to put that out there in case anyone wants to be more serious about this. And if you do, and you simply follow his advice, you could be missing a few factors or elements, and that might be why you might end up frustrated when nothing occurs. So another big part of his whole video was this whole idea of the law of attraction, and there's some good news and bad news. The good news is that I liked what he said about a lot of the ways he thought about money and how he talked about it, and the mindset shifts, and how it's all in your mind, and how a lot of the reasons people fail is because they have mental blocks, mindset shifts that have blocked themselves. And that I 100% agree with. And there's a lot of really rich people who are prime examples of this. I'll give you two: Joe Polish and T. Harv Eker. Both are very well known in their respective niches. T. Harv Eker in the success and personal development industry, and Joe Polish in the marketing industry. Now, both of these people make millions of dollars, and both have very similar stories. Both of them had every excuse in the book. Oh, it's because this industry sucks. Oh, it was because of this. And eventually, when they peeled it all back, they realized that wasn't it. It was myself. And T. Harv Eker figured this out after failing at over a dozen different businesses. And then he saw his friend, who was in the same exact industry and business that he was, succeed. And he realized it wasn't the industry, it wasn't the business, it was him. Because he realized his friend, who was exactly like him, but just had different mindsets and perspectives and behaviors, he succeeded and made all this money while he didn't. And that was the moment where T. Harv Eker really went on an internal journey of shifting and changing his beliefs that really made him a success. Joe Polish, a similar story, except that he didn't hop from business and industry to business and new industry. And he discovered that after having all these excuses why his carpeting business wasn't succeeding, but eventually meeting someone really rich who said, hey, if there's someone who's making a ton of money in your industry, then it's you, it's not the industry. And he took that to his heart and changed himself, and now he's making millions. So what he said is highly true, in my opinion, in terms of mindsets and perspectives. Now, the concept, I think, is great. As far as the specific mindsets and perspectives, that is something that I highly recommend you check out two books to really get concrete lists of these mindsets and perspectives. One is T. Harv Eker's book, The Millionaire Mind. And the second book you should check out is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Now, I've said some good stuff. I will get to some of the stuff that I respectfully disagree with. So, the first thing is some of the stuff that he said about basically law of attraction. Now, this is an area that gets really fluffy and really messy really quickly. And the reason is because this has been a area of study filled with scams as well as really wishy-washy, fishy, suspicious stuff. And as the name implies, they're well known for telling you, oh, just wish it into the world and all of a sudden money will automatically somehow attract into your life. And a lot of people end up buying into this because of something called confirmation bias, as well as other psychological biases. And the basic idea behind confirmation bias is, and you'll see this a lot, you basically, by luck, fall into something that confirms your theory, and you're like, it's true, the law of attraction is true. I read this book and today I found 20 bucks on the ground. That proves it to be true, when it could have just been luck. And you'll see this a lot. Like Dave Ramsey did something like this. He wrote something about this in his like most famous book, Total Money Makeover. He said that like he was broke one day and then he was about to like go bankrupt, and then the next day someone paid him back for a loan he gave that person years ago that was never paid back. And I don't know, it was probably luck. So the problem with this field is that it's very fishy, but here's the big but, there is certain levels of truth to it, certain grains of truth throughout it. And I think the issue was Napoleon Hill set out a very specific detailed plan on how to properly use visualization, and then he didn't use the words law of attraction, but he said something like you visualize it, you plan it out, you set those goals, you set that deadline, and then you work towards it, and you trust that the universe will move you towards it. And people started taking that trust that the universe will move you towards it, and it took that away from all the rest of this stuff. And so unfortunately, there is a lot of very suspicious, fishy, gimmicky stuff on the internet, which you can check the stats, attract millions of visitors, viewers, readers on YouTube as well as other blogs. And it's called like the New Age Law of Attraction. And they took that concept and then they just stretched it out to the point where they're pretty much telling you, oh, you don't have to plan, you don't have to work hard, you don't have to actually think of something that will move you towards making more money. All you have to do is sit in your room, meditate a little bit, and let your soul guide you into the law of attraction. So here's where I draw the line. I think meditation is really important because I've found an eerily large amount of successful people meditate. Robert Downey Jr., Ray Dalio, a lot of billionaires and successful people, actors, actresses, millionaires. For some reason, they all meditate. Tim Ferriss. And so it's one of those things, causation doesn't prove correlation, but heck, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to exercise, if that's going to even improve my chances slightly, because there's no downside. It's not like crack cocaine. And that's kind of where I draw the line. I will have a level of what I like to call confidence and visualization and subconscious programming, letting myself know that, hey, I'm going to get there one day. I'm going to get there. And to a point of confidence where I'm like, I have got there. It's just not there yet. I have got there. But I draw the line so I don't get sucked into this like crazy scammy stuff, because I also work hard. I also set a plan. I also visualize. I have a deadline. I have an actual realistic set of steps that I can use to move towards my goal, rather than just something where you just like let the world give me money somehow. Because last time I checked, all the billionaires in the world are not any of these, law of attraction people. In fact, most of these law of attraction people made their single $1 million, because they definitely didn't make 2 million, because they sold this concept to other people. So it was kind of like a pyramid scheme type thing. And of course, anyone from that field will tell you otherwise because of another psychological bias. When you start selling stuff, when you start believing in stuff, and when your livelihood depends on a belief, you start altering yourself so you align with that. So it could be the most clearly wrong, clearly disproven belief in the world, but if your livelihood depends on it, or you're selling it to make money, everything starts, you start changing your own wiring because you have to convince yourself it's true to kind of like keep sane. So of course they're not going to tell you it's fake. So I'm not saying that the law of attraction is completely wrong. There are grains of truth in it, but you just got to be very careful with it. And there is a certain level of visualization and confidence and programming, but I do not take it too far, and I'm very careful not to take it too far, and that's the best advice I can give you on that. And if you go on YouTube, there's multiple levels of this, and there's a lot of videos on this, and they go deeper and deeper. What I mean by multiple levels is that there's like a level that's somewhat realistic and can be tied to actual achievements. Like, yeah, you can have confidence and program subconsciously into your mind that you will achieve this one day while setting goals, while having a plan, while having people who are successful and ambitious that support you, and et cetera, et cetera. And then there's levels that go deeper that just get more and more fishy and wishy-washy, where it's just like they will not mention hard work or any of that other stuff. They're pretty much just selling you on this concept of just sit on your butt on your couch, don't do any hard work, and somehow one day you'll make $1 million. And it's funny because they'll never say $1 billion, because that's just, it's clear. Like, there's thousands of billionaires in the world, and yet none of these law of attraction people are billionaires. So just keep that in mind. And I would say, generally speaking, it's good. Now, final thing that I found was great about what Fouseytube said. This man really did come out there, and you can tell that he had certain elements of success that just pushed him to do what he had to do to succeed. And you could just tell. And he emphasized that, you have to start today, you have to move forward today, and you can get there even with humble beginnings. And he emphasizes this a lot. He talks about how he started working at Best Buy and Chili's, and so many of us can relate to that. And to see that, and to see that more and more people are getting rich than any other time in the world, I think it's a very positive and encouraging thing for me and for everyone else. And maybe me and you can get there one day. Now, I just want to conclude with some of the final stuff that I didn't agree with, and then let's just talk about some of that stuff. So I wouldn't even say I don't agree with it. It's just that I think that he did some things that he himself is not even aware that he did. And that can definitely happen with successful people who achieve their first $1 million, or this or that, or, because with success, there could be luck at play that you're unaware of, because all you need to succeed is everything to align. You don't have to know all the steps that you didn't have to go through because you succeeded. But if you failed, that's when the lessons are learned. So that's kind of the dilemma with successful people sometimes. They can't fully articulate everything that got them to that success because they don't know. They sometimes missed out on it. One of them I noticed was willpower. So Fouseytube, he has mentioned a few times that he's, he didn't want to work out. He didn't want to do this. He didn't want to start exercising, but he still did it to improve. And that's the concept of willpower, which can be strengthened and improved like a muscle. And that is something that's crucial and important to your success. Now, we're not going to talk about willpower much in this video, but I just want to mention it. Another part of that maybe he was less aware of was, because he didn't mention it, was finding a career or business that has economics that allows you to make a lot of money. And the reason is because that one of the reasons that he was successful was because he went on YouTube, which has a vast global distribution network and potential to reach millions of people. And when you have that scale of large numbers, then you can make a lot of money. And so compare that to a job where you trade dollars for hours. Most, I'm not saying none, but most of those jobs can't achieve that level of wealth simply because you have to work one-on-one and there's not a lot of scalability there. So understanding the economics and the potential behind that, and you might think I'm using a lot of fancy words, but I'm really trying not to. The point is, it has to scale. It has to you have to get a lot of people, and it doesn't have to be millions of people. Even if you can reach 1,000 people, if those 1,000 people are willing to pay you like $100 each, just $100 each over a year, that's less than $10 a month, then you already have a 6-figure income. So it doesn't require a lot to start making money, but you have to understand that level of at least start approaching something that has larger numbers, or just find something that's really highly desired but has a low supply, whether it's exceptional talent at singing, entertaining, playing a sport. I mean, you guys know all this, but I'm just kind of breaking down the economics behind it. And so ultimately, I think Fouseytube did a great job in inspiring people and giving a great message. And he's not the first person, and I find it somewhat eerie and awesome that some of these people who succeeded and made this money on YouTube, they have come out about it. Another person who's done this is The Gabby Show. And what's kind of eerie about these is that The Gabby Show and Fouseytube, both of them mentioned things that were key fundamentals to personal development and success that the average person never does. But in my world of personal development on my YouTube channel, most of you are very familiar with stuff like goal setting, writing down your goals, visualizing it before it happens, having very definitive goals set. And it's just funny for them to come out and say it. And it's funny because I'm like, whoa, I did not even expect for that type of person to say that, because it's kind of like Kim Kardashian or another entertainer who has a lot of money, but maybe they didn't go through that route of taking all these steps there. So you're kind of like, you know what? That's really cool. It just goes to show you that some of these principles are timeless and they do work, and who knows how they found it out. I think Fouseytube, just by how he phrased his video, it seemed like he found out about some of these things online himself. The Gabby Show, maybe it seemed from her video that she kind of found out about it naturally through herself. I don't know. But it's just cool seeing that sort of convergent evolution of people just stumbling into the same techniques that get them there. I think it's really cool, and thanks so much for watching. At the end of the day, it's a great video. So hit the subscribe button if you like this video, and I'll see you in the next video.